you don't know how. You say we're taking on water, yeah, we're sinking now. You're looking all concerned, like we're gonna drown. But we both know how to swim, no worries, let's float for now. Let's take it slow, where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow, who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it. I know I'm not easy, I drag you out your mind. And there are days I hate you, but baby, you're still mine. And then we have the best times, no matter what we do. And even when we don't, there's nobody I'd rather choose. Let's take it slow, where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me.
Every time we say goodbye, they all see that it's a lie. 'Cause we always give it one last try. Yeah, you've watched me break 1,000 times. Now I'm all alone, 'cause you never show. You say you will, but then you don't. That's how it goes. Don't wanna know. I'm turning off my mind so I get by. I just wanna be happy, happy tonight. Happier tonight. Can't be waiting for you in the morning. I'ma leave without giving a warning. I'ma leave without giving a. But every time we say goodbye, we all know that it's a lie. Now I'm all alone, 'cause you never show. You say you will, but then you don't. That's how it goes. Don't wanna know. I'm turning off my mind so I get by. I just wanna be happy, happy tonight. Happier tonight. Happier tonight. Can't be waiting for you in the morning. I'ma leave without giving a warning. I'ma leave without giving a. But
got so intense. I feel it again, I feel it again, I feel it again. We're bringing this back to life. What is love? I don't know why you are not fair. I give you my love, but you don't care. So what is right and what is wrong? Just give me a sign. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. No, don't hurt me no, no more. What is What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. No, don't hurt me no, no more. What is love? I do not know what I can do. What else can I say? It's up to you. I know we're one, just me and you. I can't go on. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. No, don't hurt me no, no more. What is What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. No, don't hurt me no, no more. What is What is love?
On my own, but I don't know why you hit the road, but you don't realize I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when you're gone. Don't hesitate to call me back, 'cause I won't be there. I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when you're gone. Don't hesitate. don't know why. She told me it's not your fault, but you don't realize that I never wonder what's the truth in your eyes. There's a light that makes me blush. I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when you are gone. Don't hesitate to pull me back, 'cause I won't be there. I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when you are gone. Don't hesitate to pull me back, 'cause I won't be there. I won't look back.
It's like a one-way ticket somewhere far away. It's like the calm in the eye of a hurricane. It's on the edge of a heartbeat, fast and a heartbreak. I wanna take your hand, I wanna leave tonight. I don't know what this is, but it just feels right. Breathing you in so high, think I might crash and die. 'Cause it feels like falling in love, yeah, it feels like falling in love. Yeah, it feels like falling in love, yeah, it feels like falling in love. And it feels like I wanna jump, baby, every time that we touch. 'Cause it feels like falling in love, yeah, it feels like falling in love. Standing still, but it's all so fast. Think you can hold my world in just your hands. It's on the edge of a burning room at a slow dance. I wanna take your hand, I wanna leave tonight. I don't know what this is, but it just feels right. Breathing you in so high, think I might crash and die. 'Cause it feels like falling in love, yeah, it feels like falling in love. Yeah, it feels like falling in love, yeah, it feels like falling in love. And it feels like I wanna jump, baby, every time that we touch. 'Cause it feels like falling in love, yeah, it feels like falling in love. I know I haven't called you, and it's been a few months since I tried to. Maybe I'm scared, or faking, pretend I don't care, but it's killing me. I'd be happy for you if you say you're happier with someone else. I'll be honest with you, just the thought of it hurts like hell. Oh, this time you've been thinking I moved on, but you should know I waited for you. Even if I tried, I could never let you go. You should know I waited. I'm always waiting for you. I'm always waiting for you. Oh, you should know I waited.
I know it ain't my business, 'cause I'm the one who asked for the distance. But are you alone? Are you alright? And maybe you will judge me if I said that I hope you still love me. Feels like you don't. I'm scared that I might. I'll be happy for you if you say you're happier with someone else. I'll be honest with you, just the thought of it hurts like hell.
Oh, this time you've been thinking I moved on, but you should know I waited for you. Even if I tried, I could never let you go. You should know I waited. I'm always waiting for you. I'm always waiting for you. Oh, you should know I waited. Oh, this time you've been thinking I moved on, but you should know I waited for you. Even if I tried, I could never let you go. You should know I waited. I'm always waiting for you. I'm always waiting for you. Oh, you should know I waited. If I was the bad guy, I would've left you hanging by a thread. If it was the first time, I would've held long onto the edge. If I could help it be telling you to love me, pulling you into my chest. If I knew it was the last time, I wouldn't have said what I said. 'Cause I said goodbye. We let it slide in front of our eyes. We say goodbye. 'Cause I said goodbye. We let it slide in front of our eyes. We say goodbye. We say goodbye. We say goodbye. We say goodbye. From the beginning, I didn't know what we had. I didn't see clearly. Fog in the headlights holding me back. If I could help it be telling you to love me, pulling you into my chest. If I knew it was the last time, Stay tight, we have to go. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me while we leave. Stay with me while we leave.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Season 9 Duo Esports Team Showcase. Here we'll be going over all of the teams, rosters, logos, seasonal expectations. If you name it, then it's going to be here. Teams will be presented in alphabetical order, starting with our Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold competitive series first, and then moving our way up to our Gold, Platinum competitive series. Now, before we jump right into the teams playing, I have two special guests for our Little League teams to join me alongside the Team Showcase here. First up, championship support for Event Horizon is True Tabaga.
Well, thank you for the warm welcome as always, Shuno. Excited to be here, excited to introduce the returning and also the new IBSG teams for Season 9.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a few scores to settle, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we definitely have quite the list of teams here. I'm happy to have you here with me, True. Need some expert, support, expertise on, going over these teams. But I have another person with me as well. And a second person is going to be previous bot laner, current top laner for Divine Ascension Tanzanite Imagines. Welcome on board.
Thank you for having me. It's a nice day to have you guys here with us, and I'm actually very excited to talk about the teams.
Yeah, absolutely. You're coming back from last season on 10D, now on a, officially under the Divine Ascension organization. So it's definitely going to be fun.
Yeah. This time, I won't probably be out of field for every role.
All right, excellent. With that said, let's get into our first team for the IBSG League. And that team is going to be average on a good day. Average play in the preseason exhibition matches last week, in fact, against the Gold Platinum Competitive Series team Genesis. And all in all, got hard rolled. While they did have some of their moments, such as some big ultimates and cool combos onto the Genesis squad, did not matter in the end. Did average just have an above average opponent, or is this team not even going to have good days? Let's start off with, let's go to you, Tro. How do you feel about this team?
Well, you can see it right there on your screen, that logo. If I was going to judge a team based on its logo, not great. But you did call out, oh gosh, there's the meme. But, thinking about how, Average on a Good Day performed in that exhibition match, they're going up against the Gold Plat team. And it's surprising when a team can, punch above their weight, especially when it's an IBSG team against, something that should be a team that's experienced playing together. So, it's always nice to have new players in the league, and hopefully Average on a Good Day can, really step it up, boost their average performance, such as it is, and be competitive in IBSG.
Let's take a look at that roster for there, Shelby. In the top lane, we got J-Dab001 in the top lane. Theadius, former coach for Varsity Clubs, runner-up in IBSG in the jungle. Banana Slug Slam in the mid lane. Zyrox and AD carry, and Running Dunning on support. What do you feel about this team, Imagines?
I actually wasn't able to see them due to not being in town or in the state and not having any signal. But by the looks of it, their logo looks unique. I guess that's one way we could describe it. But I've seen, looking at their OPGGs, they look like a decent team. Probably in the middle of the pack at best.
Middle of the pack. All right. Just for context, our IBSG League is going to have 8 teams, and I do indeed believe are going to be running the same format from last season. Top 5 qualifying, with the top 3 teams getting buys into the playoffs, and 4th and 5th having to play a quarterfinal match. So middle of the pack may not be too bad for this team, but I'm going to be the one to sell the hard truth that average don't want to hear. I mean, yeah, they did go against Genesis. Don't get me wrong, GPCS team. With that said, they got rolled, right? And like I said, they had some cool combos. They had some moments where you thought, whoa, they just had a good fight against them. It wasn't a complete stomp. It's not like they got kills. But I still, looking at the rest of IBSG especially, I can't help but feel this team's probably at the bottom,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a reasonable thing to speculate. But, sometimes teams really improve as the season goes on, and they really find their footing. Other times they struggle. Like look at Event Horizon last season. Like the mid season for Event Horizon, not great, dropping a ton of games, like doing so many roster swaps, but eventually found their footing, found the roster that worked together the best, and they ended up winning out.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we'll have to see, right? I mean, we'll have to look at the other teams first. Let's get into them, shall we? Moving on to our next team. We got another returning team coming in right now. It's a whopper of a name. They're breaking the character count. These guys just don't care. From 10th Dimension Tanzanite, and now going even further above and beyond to Divine Ascension Tanzanite, now officially being under the Divine Ascension organization, and with the majority of players still in pack, will Divine Ascension finally be able to ascend at the start of a new esports season? Or will this season go up in flames just like their quarterfinals did in the last? Let's start it off with you, Imagines.
Yeah, well, this is actually kind of exciting. I've been role swapped to top with our old top laner Shapiro coaching me, so I really can't wait to bring out Skarner top lane again. Definitely gonna have fun playing that, and I'm gonna make sure he is sad when he watches our games by playing Renekton specifically. Need to make sure he knows that I hate myself a bit too. But yeah, honestly, this looks pretty fun with Ben always usually being our star player. Usually seeing him play in games always very fun to play because he usually goes through the roller coaster of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And JD, the return. It's JD. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's JD. That's all you gotta know. He's just there. He's always there. But
All right, so
and this time we have a new bot lane with Vix not being here with us for for some issues that she's had, and so it's been pretty cool. And then we have Shapiro as our coach this time.
ooh, okay. Well, not going to be able to promote and mess up your playoffs this time around. Let's get at the roster, shall we? We once again got the man himself on the cast here. It's Imagines in the top lane. DAJD just coming off of a name change from Jay Deli on 1 in the jungle. Ben Jixie in the mid lane. Clementines in the bot lane. And DA Lucretia on support. So True Tobaga, what are your thoughts on these guys?
Well, I mean, like, I think it's pretty straightforward, especially with Imagines calling out that Shapiro is now coaching for the entire team, but especially for the top lane position. Like the meme kind of hitting the nail on the head, like give DA Tanzanite a chance because they never got to show what they had going into playoffs because, well, they kind of shot themselves in the foot with Shapiro ranking out. But that being said, the talent is still there. He's, transitioned to that coaching position. And DA Tanzanite had some pretty strong performances. And I would not put it beyond them, like to perform really, really well. But at the same time, like I think on average, they weren't doing super hot. So I would probably, be willing to put them like middle of the pack, but they can definitely have the potential to go beyond that.
Okay, how do you feel about that, Imagines? You don't like that?
I don't like it mostly because we weren't able to play them last season. Last season either. They kind of dodged us a little bit there. So it's pretty weird that he's saying that we're middle of the pack when even in other times we have played them scrims and we have won against them.
Dude, that was like months ago. Chill out.
Months? Come on, man.
Wait, you want to talk about dodging? It was Azure that dodged you. That wasn't even on us. Come on.
But, yeah, I'm looking forward to our team this year. Seems like fresh faces is also really nice. And maybe this time we have a shot calling or probably not drinking every game because that's what usually happened.
Oh my god.
Yeah, usually one of us died. Usually Shapiro and I, we would just take a shot and then we would lose the games for that reason.
A different kind of shot caller then.
But looks like this year it's not gonna happen, but I'll take one down for my coach every time.
All right, fantastic. I mean, I fully understand. You came off of last, regardless of who is right or who is wrong, right? You guys ended last season and just no one wanted to finish that way, right? You had to forfeit your quarterfinals, not what you want to see, right? So I definitely understand that desire to come back to do better. Off of such a rock bottom finish, you absolutely want to not only start strong, but ideally finish strong as well, right? And a DA has made playoffs, like as an org, they have made playoffs in their leagues before. Semifinals, I think, being their peak in season 7 against PS Blue. our Season 7 IBC champions. So all in all, this team's made it pretty far before. They're not just some rock-bottom sleeper team. If I had to pinpoint what I think Tanzanite will finish this season, I think returning players is a big plus for me. I think if you can come back and say you have 3, 4, maybe even 5, if you have exceptional management, returning players on the team, I really do think you're going to do very well. With that said, I'd probably say third at best for Tanzanite, right? Because as we're going to get to our next few IBSG teams, especially the ones at the very end of the list, there's a lot of indecisives, right? There's a lot of ones where it's like, okay, these teams look really good, but they're not perfect, right? Tanzanite, I think, are just the right mix. They got a lot of returning players. They're looking to do better, and I think they're going to finish the season at least top 4, maybe top 3.
Well, definitely top 1 if I don't get autofilled everywhere when one of our players leaves for work. Hopefully.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Don't jinx it, man.
For sure. All right, let's hop into our next team on our IBSG list. And this team's not just any team, they're a special one. They are none other than the returning championship team for the Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold competitive series from last season, Event Horizon. These guys crushed last season in the IBSG League, basically from start to finish. They did have some midseason hiccups, but got their groove back together very quickly with some massive midseason roster upgrades that allowed them to go undefeated in the playoffs. Will Event Horizon take another season of IBSG for themselves, or is this where the Kings get dethroned? Let's start it off with you, Tro.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Like, you see those crowns on every single player. Like, I would I would not put it beyond EH to perform well, and I absolutely know that Forever and Warden, they're brothers. They work really, really well together. And I think one thing that really went unsung last season was that Warden on his own stepped up his communication so much, calling out what he wanted to do, calling out his own pathing, the objectives he wanted to take. And he really stepped up in that regard. Obviously, Zillow and I, we have literal years of synergy built up since we've been playing together for 4 years. But obviously, we're really one super stark change for the roster, right? Dark is in over Lone Wind. Might be my fault. It actually is my fault. I really fucked up in that regard. But that being said, Dark actually brings a pretty. Dark absolutely brings a different style for mid lane that EH hasn't had the opportunity to play with. And as far as scrims go, as far as practice goes, I think, we're still a really strong team. We still communicate really well. We still work really well together. But if I'm being realistic, I don't think we are as strong as we were at the end of last season, but we can definitely get there. So I would believe that we can still finish first.
Okay, a little humble. Let's look at that championship roster once again. Decorated as can be with crowns on all of your players. Top lane, Forever Run 11. Jungle Warden. The Dark Sovereign in the mid lane. Zillow in the bot lane. The Elo sitting king himself. And once again, you in the bot lane, True. This is definitely a squad and a half. But what do you think about them, Imagines?
I can't really speak much, just since this is kind of a little bit of a new roster with their mid laner. But since the only thing it can really go based off is scrim results and last season's games. But I definitely thought they were top 3. I didn't expect them to win, to be more exact. I expect the Ergodom Academy to win, cough cough. But
okay, that's fair.
But I do have a little bit of high hopes. I mean, I don't know about their mid laner, since during our old scrims they did get crushed by my mid laner. But hopefully we get to see them in the top 3 again.
Okay. I mean, going off of some last season records, they didn't have, a perfect regular season. They did drop a few games here and there. One of them being, tends to mention Tanzanite, now DA Tanzanite, right? So that'll be a pretty cool matchup. Tanzanite have been EH before. Can they do it again with this new roster of theirs? True, are you worried about, Tanzanite or any of the other competition coming up so far? Or is this going to be an easy second crown?
I mean, I'd love to say it's an easy second crown, but I also know that there are teams in IBSG that can pressure us, even just looking at it on paper. And I'd actually put DA Tanzanite on that list solely off of the fact that we have played them. And like Imagine said, they took scrims off us. So, I'm expecting, and with all the talk that Imagines is putting forward here, I'm expecting them to bring the heat. I want it to be competitive, and I would love to have some really difficult games, have some really difficult series back and forth. Bring as much competitive strength to IBSG that can be seen. That being said, I still think EH is going to win out.
All right, going to be fun. Yeah, I mean, let's get to my thoughts on this roster, shall we? I mean, you have frankly, right? Your substitute solo lands from last season. We mainly saw, not a quantitative amount of games, but perhaps just a higher quality of games that of Zephyr. At the end of that season, really just bringing up a whole new level to Event Horizon, the top lane, making top lane be a massive threat. And obviously Dark Sovereign, he sprinkled some games here and there, but didn't play that much. Not to bash my boy. I know he actually,
he had a
yeah,
top lane game where he played
yeah, he had a
Aurelia.
top lane game. I think a few mid lane games, but overall, I mean, actually has a negative win rate in the league, I believe, whether that be circumstance with teams or whatnot. But I know he's a very good player. I've seen him perform, higher levels of play than what Duo IBSG has to offer. So I know he's a good player, and I think he's, as a starter, has a lot to prove for himself this season. Going to be really fun to see. And of course, the rest of your roster, you have you guys in the bot lane. You crushed it when you came in with Zillow. Really scary stuff, and Warden as well. Getting a lot of flame, but being able to answer to the heat, right? So overall, I think EH are going to do very good. I think this is probably out of the 3 IBSG teams, maybe 4, where it's like, okay, these guys are a contender. I think EH look the best. They have the least problems. They have the most convincing roster. They've won last season, for crying out loud, right? My only concern actually would be how would having Forever back in the roster change things up, right? Because what I'm looking at for EH, I think, is you have a tank top, you have a tank jungle, and you're really looking at bot and mid lane carries, no?
I mean, that's not a wrong assessment. It's actually a pretty spot on assessment. I would say that we're pushing Forever and Dev to learn more like varied champions so that they can get skill elsewhere. But that being said, I think that we can run a variety of different comps. Maybe, like I said, not as well as where we were at the end of last season, but we can do it effectively, especially because we have synergy between all of the players.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I definitely look forward to it. I mean, there's nothing bad about double tanks. If you can get ahead with double tanks, that's just, you solidify the win. I mean, the carriers are able to do whatever they want. You have a solid front line, easy front to backs. So all in all, I do think EH are going to do very well in the season, right? They're the championship team coming back for a reason, and I really do believe it's going to show. All right, but let's get into our next team on the Iron Bronze Silver Gold competitive series list. It's going to be the first one of an organization, a team with not only a team in our lower level league, but also a main team in the Gold Platinum competitive series. That team is none other than Genesis Academy, with some familiar faces from IBSG last season. Well, Genesis Academy score off better than their GPCS team did at the start of last season, or this team basically doomed, just like Genesis were at the start of season 8. Let's take a look at that roster then, shall we? For Genesis Academy, we got Death Dragon Flame in the top lane, Big Black Rainbows in the jungle, Lone Wind in the mid lane, Furman in bot lane, and BP on support. I'm going to head right back to you, True. How do you feel about these guys?
I mean, when I saw the roster for Genesis Academy, primarily when Lone was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go find another team now," and I was like, "Ah, shit." But with Lone going, off on his own path to Genesis Academy here, I think he brings a lot to that team. For as much as Dev stepped up his own shot calling, playing on a team with Lone for I think multiple different seasons across different iterations of EH now, he is actually super vocal. Not just his skill in the mid lane, but also knowing what the team needs at any given point, knowing where he needs to be. So yeah, I think that okay, BBR in the jungle, right? or like BP, who had the most deaths on like as out of any IBSG player last season, you might say like that looks a bit shaky. But I think Lone can be that person that steps up and makes the team like, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And kind of lead them to victory. That being said, as I understand it, their top laner is like Akali, Yone, two trick, and if Lone's on the team, and now you have two people who play Yone, it's just banned. It's gone. You're never gonna get that champion. Sorry. And now your top laner can play one thing. So we'll see how Genesis Academy can pan out. I think that if I'm being as ruthlessly honest as possible, I think that they're a middle of the pack team at best. But there's also obviously the worst case scenario, which I think would probably be fifth.
Yeah,
Fifth out of 8 is worst case scenario. That's not too bad, but how do you feel, Imagines?
yeah, I agree with True. Seeing Win play with them last year looks like, or with True last year seemed pretty well. But this time he's on a different team with Blackback Rainbows. Even if you have a lot of deaths, doesn't mean that like you're not winning. It could just be like you're running it down with the team and having fun. But I can see this, and if he's saying that if it's a two trick player in the top lane, then you can start preparing your matchup against him. Just realizing that where you're gonna play and where his counters are. But I probably expect this team to do well in the beginning, but then slowly go to like the middle of the pack team just due to time and not having enough synergy playing together.
That's actually pretty good prediction. Not having enough synergy is a pretty big thing that does actually affect teams at the start of a season, and is something everyone needs to build up if they don't already have it, which most teams don't. But looking at this roster, I mean, I'm going to just say this immediately. We're not even in day one, guys, and we already have someone team hopping in IBSG. I mean, that definitely adds a lot of interest to this team that really wasn't there before. I mean, let me just give you my knee-jerk, like, caveman reactions just upon seeing some of these players in some of these roles, okay? Death Dragon Flame, don't know him. BBR Jungle. Oh boy. Lone Wind. Okay. Looking really good. Furman bot. BP support. Like there's so many different faces on this team, and I'm honestly not sure what to make of it. So if I had to, throw a dart at the board here, I mean, it's gonna miss, that's for sure. But I kind of want to agree with you. Fifth, 5 out of 5 to make that playoff run, I guess is realistic, but this team could be anywhere but the top 2, I would say. Yeah, I don't know if this is a top 2 team. I think those spots are already taken. But overall, really interesting stuff. Genesis Academy going to be a team that we have to keep our eye on. Let's go to our next team for our Bronze, Silver, Gold competitive series. It's our second to last one here, and it's going to be Rift Warriors Arc Knights, I believe. Actually, hold up. Let me get my glasses super quickly, guys.
Holy cow, it is.
Okay, I got them.
CG logo.
All right, my bad. I got them on now. I misread that part. Our second to last team for the Iron Bronze Silver Gold competitive series is Pawn Sacrifice Arc Knights, a fusion between Pawn Sacrifice and Rift Warriors Arc Knights. RWA played last season not under the illustrious Pawn Sacrifice organization and finished 6th out of 5th, missing out on a playoff spot. In seasons before, however, the Arc Knights tried to beat Pawn Sacrifice, but failed. Before they were officially a Pawn Sacrifice team. Now, not being able to beat them and deciding to join them, just how that old saying goes, will Pawn Sacrifice Arc Knights have what it takes to be at the top? Let's head over to you this time, Imagines.
How did they do last season? I do not remember.
Arc Knights, 6th out of 5th. Really, really flaky, rough regular start of the season.
But seeing this, I'm not sure. Seeing that they have 2 players with crowns, seeing that they've won before. But so there's a lot of questions around this team. But seeing an old teammate there is pretty interesting there. We have a little bit of history, so playing against them will be fun and interesting to see how they do. But I probably expect them to probably be bottom if their two, I guess, star carries or their two old championship winners don't step up.
For sure. I mean, I actually got to hear about that. I think a night or two ago, I was just chilling in the Pawn Sacrifice Discord, and I got the insider info that's so amusing. Used to be on Tanzanite very recently, in fact, right? So that's going to be a little bit of a spice, I believe, before the season starts. But let's look at that roster there, shall we? We got Mr. Vitus in the top lane, Momo Owo in the jungle, SKT Flinger in the mid lane, so amusing in the bot lane, and Saint Malaya, the RWA player that you think of when you think of this team. Once again, the captain in the support position. I'm going to head back to you, True. How do you feel about these guys?
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about how Mr. Vitus completely gapped Okina and I in bot lane with his Scion support last season. That being said, um, like I think this roster can definitely do well. Saint Malay is probably the person that I've heard talked about the most out of Arc Knights. And like people have always said, like, oh, Saint Malay, carry support. Like he plays, he's willing to play mages. He's willing to play what do you call it, like Swain, for instance, in bot lane, and that can introduce a level of threat that most other teams in IBSG aren't really able to anticipate or aren't really able to answer well. But the other problem with running mages in the support role is when it works really well. But when it falls behind, it feels absolutely useless. And that's kind of reflected in how Arc Knights did last season. When they had the opportunities to get leads, they could win out games against rosters that people didn't think that they should be beating, like EH. But then when they fell behind against teams of just similar skill, like they were blown out of the water. So like they're just this very, very inconsistent, like either hot or cold team, but more often cold. So I wouldn't put it beyond Arc Knights to perform poorly. Yeah, pretty much. Like that was some scary stuff. That Scion of his hated it.
I mean, like you can play all the support carries you want, but when your ADC doesn't cut, I mean, like how much can you do? You know?
God damn it, man.
I mean, I don't think you two are talking about the big reveal enough. Oh shit! It's Pawn Sacrifice, by the way.
No,
Yeah,
I
I know what you're going on about, of course, but I want to focus on that a little bit, right? I mean, as much as I agree 100%, Rift Wars Arc Knights, on their own, meh, not the greatest. They were mainly a cheese team, somehow more of a cheese team than Imagine's team was last season. That's impressive. And they were very close to making playoffs, but it just wasn't good enough, right? A lot of things about that team could be summed up to that. But now under Pawn Sacrifice, right? That's not just a name. You have incredibly experienced coaches, players, managers assisting you and helping you improve and get better at the game. Like that is a very big deal, and that's one of the things that RWA I think lacked was solid infrastructure, which is now all around them in Pawn Sacrifice.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Pawn Sacrifice has, they're very well set up and organized. Certainly more than EH is. Bunga bunga.
So, I mean, I could see this team, possibly tumbling at the top. I mean, this is one of those teams, kind of like Genesis Academy, I think, a little bit more so that just throws a wrench in, everyone's IBSG predictions for this season, right? And I will say Momo Awo and SKT Flinger, when they did get their championship roles, they really weren't starting. They subbed and came in for like one game, and that was it. So overall, you're not looking at like the season, Pawn Sacrifice Black Beasts or anything of the sort, but you're still looking at guys that Sheer is considered. Yeah, this guy's good enough to be on my roster, and I trust him with whenever matches. So overall, where do I think this team is gonna place? If I don't know as an answer, that's how I would sum it up. I think again third, fourth, because I'm really not sure. But this team has the possibility to tumble with EH. Again, Pawn Sacrifice leaves the door wide open.
I think that a lot of, probably by the looks of it, at least from hearing a bit little of the support, a lot has to go right for them to start winning games because it is a carry mage, or like a carry support player. So he does need to build massive leads. I mean, if he doesn't build leads, like what else he's gonna do? He's just a random squishy
Mhm.
champion. They can be easily killed, and like your ADC just not moving at all when like team fights are happening is another big mistake. So I feel like this team needs a lot to get right. They probably need to build leads early on. So I expect them to be either bottom or middle of the pack.
Okay. You know what? That's actually a completely fair assessment. I'll give that to you because again, this is very much a wild card ass team. They have the, organization of, a consistently first place team, but they come from the roots of, a team that not always is at the top, right? But alas, we'll talk about Pawn Sacrifice Arcanines a bit more during the season. Let's go to our final Iron Bronze Silver Gold competitive series team, rounding out the orgs and teams for the IBSG League. Teams that are putting in not only a team in the Gold Plat, but the IBSG League as well. This one's going to be Team Ambition Wolves. After last season's late success, the Team Ambition organization is putting in a little cub of a team at Team Ambition Wolves into our lower level league with the goal of winning it. It's also been very recently revealed to us that Team Ambition has never won a league before as an organization, meaning that these guys are going to work really hard to try and make Duo Esports their first. Will they be able to do so in our IBSG League, or is this team just a lone wolf at the bottom of the standings? I know you know a few players on this roster, so I'm going to go to you, Tro.
You didn't want to say lone wolf at the bottom of the pack? God damn, man. Anyway. Anyway, thinking about TA Wolves, right? Like thinking about like what teams in IBSG are the teams to beat. I would say other than EH, TA Wolves are easily that other top 2 team. Like you take a look at this roster, sure, most people don't know Lawrence or maybe not Morningstar either, but the other 3 names on this roster speak for themselves. Titan Duff, who, switching back into mid lane from jungle mid lane was the original role that he played, as I understand it. And more than anything else, everyone loves Titan. Like he's like he's like the Adonis of Duo. Everyone just loves Titan. But like I think, like that being said, when anyone who has played a game with Titan also knows that he is Fizz player Go Burr. So that's the other weakness. I wouldn't put it beyond them to maybe put Titan on like strong safe meta pick or like Oriana or something. Because just assume the Fizz is going to be banned the entire time. But the other part of this roster, which is the thing everyone needs to talk about, everyone needs to give respect to, it's going to be. I know the name is Jan Engeland, but we all know that's Okina, and the support being Dark. Dark was previously a mid laner for Pawn Sacrifice Purple last season. Did really, really well. And he's also Okina's friend. They have that like synergy built up between one another. Okina is a bit of a solo queue monster. He puts in ridiculous amounts of effort and work and time in playing solo queue. And he's very far and away a strong ADC, and I don't think anybody in IBSG would contest that point. The only other person I would put like that are competitive is going to be competitive with Okina, and Okina is competitive with, in my mind, is Zillow. And you can see obviously that both Okina and Dark also have crowns. They are champions. Give them the respect they deserve, because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, and then they'll take the game. They'll take the Nexus.
For sure. Let's take a look at the roster there for Team Ambition. We've got Lawrence in the top lane, Morningstar in the jungle, Titan Duff in the mid lane, Jan Egland, I'm going to go if your pronunciation true, or just Okina in the bot lane, and Dark Wenser on support. And yeah, I mean, this team's got a lot to talk about. But what do you feel about them, Imagines?
Honestly, the only thing I'm excited for is to bet with Titan Duff to change his Discord name, saying that I lost to Imagines again.
Oh my god!
Ooh, I almost forgot about that.
Little friendly bet there, so I'm actually really excited to see him, and maybe let's see if his Fizz gets through for one game, just to see it get perma banned again. But I'm excited for this team, seeing that 2 of their players have won before, and seeing the Morningstar that I've seen, I think in a previous league. But
Mhm.
I'm not sure. This team is a very big question mark since I've never seen Titan in the mid lane. Always see him in the jungle, just playing Hecarim.
It's a
Mhm.
But
sight to behold. Mid lane
yeah,
Titan.
Okay.
but yeah, this team has a lot of question marks for me.
Gotcha. I mean, I agree with you. I've never seen Titan play, like, at least not competitively. I've never seen him play mid lane before, and even casually, I've caught glimpses of it. It's like seeing Bigfoot or something. It just doesn't exist.
Wait,
Right?
do
So
you,
Actually,
like,
I'm gonna
have
cut
you?
in
Oh,
here.
wait.
I'm gonna cut in here. Tighten up
Oh,
was
wait, what's up,
actually
boss?
Tighten up was a mid lane sub for Naughty Nips in season 3. Just so we're all aware.
Ooh.
I mean, like, I've seen Titans Lee Sin mid. It's
Man,
a
how bad is it?
it's it's a champion.
It's a champion.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's okay. Just
Mhm.
admit it. It's a ward.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
But,
no, it hops towards. God damn it! Give some
There you go.
respect.
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, but I mean, let me actually break this roster down. All right, I mean, the Yorkina Dark Winter bot lane is definitely a highlight of it. I believe that was the bot lane for Pawn Sacrifice Blue in season 7 when they won IBSG, and Okina, no flame at all. It very much is kind of like the embodiment of IBSG. This guy's always at the top of it. Made finals 2 seasons in a row, winning one of them. So overall, Okina, very competitive player, very successful player at IBSG. And as you said, really works hard on that grind, gets his games in more than everyone else. And I'm very good friends with him, right? So all in all, I know Aokina, I know Dark. I've seen these guys successfully play at this level before. Titan mid, a really big wild card. I mean, it's one of the best junglers that we've had in our last few IBSG seasons. But how does he do in mid lane? I'm hearing a lot of fizz. What if that gets banned, right? Stuff like that. And I have no clue who the top in jungle are. Lawrence and Morningstar, I don't know. So there's definitely some wild cards on this team. But this is one of the teams, I agree with you, Bitru, that I could see competing with the H. It's still a bit of a wild shot, but I could see this as a number 2 team, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So all in all, Team Ambition Wolves going to be a sight to see. And again, they are under the Team Ambition org now, which I think is something that some of these guys really do need. Just the backing of an org can do a lot for you against some of these one-off teams that might be competing this season. But all in all, that's actually all of our Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold competitive series teams so far. We do have 2 more IBSG slots wide open. That can change up the competition quite a bit. So if you or anyone else knows an IBSG team, get them in here sooner than later. We'll have those 2 teams very soon in our IBSG league. But let's give a quick overview before we pan out to GPCS, right? We have Average on a Good Day, Divine Ascension Tanzanite, Event Horizon, Genesis Academy, Pawn Sacrifice Arknights, and Team Ambition Wolves. I want you to, because we only have 6 teams so far, give me your top 3 in order for the season. Let's start off with you, Tro.
Event Horizon, then TA Wolves, then Divine Ascension Tanzanite.
Okay.
I think I'd probably go TA Wolves,
Ooh.
my team tonight. Then
Wow!
Oh my god,
Whoa, we're
imagine.
flipping the script on this one. Okay.
Damn.
Very, very different predictions. How confident are you in that, Imagines? I want to see how do you feel about that?
well, it depends if my team is not drinking that day.
Okay. I mean, I'm
Oh,
more so
damn.
talking about that 1 and that 3. Do you think TA Wolves at the top and EH not just 1 but 2 spots below them?
It's depending on how they do against them more than anything. If they have proper preparations, I do feel like they can beat them, but it doesn't come until later, till game day. So hopefully they will.
It's a very fair point.
Yeah, I mean, it will definitely be really interesting. What I would say, my top 3, I definitely say EH. I think, like I said, that the team with the least, question marks, out of these 3 or 4 teams that you could very realistically see being at the top 3. From there, I'd probably say TA Wolves. I think we're gonna get into this in our GPCS section. But I think a motto, a hashtag for the season is very much going to be hashtag TA fighting, because not just in this league do I think that they're going to be number 2 fighting for that number 1 spot, but GP especially when we get into it. And if I had to say a number 3 team, I would say it is between Tanzanite and Pawn Sacrifice, but I'm going to let you down, Imagines. I think Pawn Sacrifice Arknights are going to be able to nudge it out.
Ooh.
So we will see. Overall, a very exciting season of IBSG right around the corner. Game starting this Friday, in fact. So tomorrow now we got some IBSG games, an IBSG match to start the season off, in fact, between Average on a Good Day and, if I remember correctly, someone, I don't remember their opponent, but no Average are up for the first game of the season. So overall, going to be pretty exciting if they could start the season off strong or not. And all in all, going to be very fun. I think that wraps up our IBSG section. Thank you so much, True and Imagines, for being here. We're going to be getting into our Gold Platinum competitive series very soon, but a 5 to 7-ish minute break, and we'll be with you guys super soon.
Until
Welcome back, everyone, to our Season 9 Duo Esports Team Showcase. We got more teams to go over now in our upper-level league, where the competition really starts to get heated. Once again, I have two special guests joining me. We got the boys here, so let's give them a warm welcome. Welcome former coach for last season's second place IBSG Varsity Club, former jungler for Pawn Sacrifice Black, and current Diamond Plus level jungler for Pawn Sacrifice White. Onto the desk, Legit Sack.
What's up? What's up?
All right, happy to have you here, my man. We got a bunch of teams to go over. 9 out of 10 for GPCS right now, so bunch of fun going to be happening in this season. But also joining me is last season's team captain, Pentakill jungler and superstar ADC that was able to single-handedly turn his team's season around. It's TBS Collateral.
Yo, what's up? I'm back, baby.
Welcome aboard once again, Collateral. Happy to have you here. We got a bunch of GPCS teams to go over. I know everyone, loved having Have Faith. You're coming back this season again under a different name, but we're going to get to you, I think, second to last.
I don't like our name, bro. I don't like our name. Anyways.
For sure. Get a logo whenever you guys can, by the way, of course. But let's head straight into our teams for GPCS this season. First up, we got an old duo esports name, All One Lane. One of the first duo esports teams ever. These guys played in Season 1 with Have Faith, and since then competed in duo esports 3 more seasons afterwards, all with varying results. Will All One Lane be able to claim their fame once again in duo esports, or is this team just too outdated? Since I know you remember these guys, man. Collateral, how do you feel about them coming back?
I never played in the first season. It wasn't me who played in the first. It was the Rich Pritch. Yeah, it was the Rich Pritch. But I mean, for them to come back, that's pretty cool. Like, we have like a rival from way back when. I'm not sure how we did or how they did back then. But hopefully it'll be fun. I like that. I didn't even know that. Gee.
Yeah, I mean, no, for sure. I mean, All One Lane, their most recent season that they came off of, Season 4, still 2 years ago, so quite a while away. They finished with a killer record, with topping the IBSG League, just topping all the teams in it. With that said, they did have Sheeran Omari on their team, who have since branched off and made Pawn Sacrifice, who've just been farming our league for prize pool every season. I know you that Legit Sack, quite a bit about them. So, how do you feel about All Lane coming back?
I actually don't know anything about these guys. The only person I know on this team is Thigh High Demise. I've known him as a pretty solid mid laner.
Wait, you know Thigh High Demise?
Yes, I do.
Wait,
yes,
I know him too. What the hell? That's wild. I didn't guess that.
Yeah,
okay.
So I knew him as a mid laner. I suppose he's playing AD carry here, so I've never seen that. I'm interested to see, how the team does. But just looking at the players individually, I think they're all pretty decent. I'm not too sure where they're going to fit yet. We'll have to, see a couple games and we'll go from there.
Yeah, let's take a look at that roster for All One Lane Shell. We got Captain Salty in the top lane, Go to Hell in the jungle, El Kid of Fire, the captain, the man himself behind the brand AOL in the mid lane, Thigh High Demise, formerly, if we got some other oldies in the chat here, Blued It, former IGN that he very, frequently played on under Duo Esports, and Sonic Abs. So, all in all, yeah, AOL coming back. It's super cool to see. And like I was getting at earlier, I mean, these guys were successful previous with Pawn Sacrifice, right? Omari and Sheer, but no more Omari and Sheer. So, I mean, do you think that's just going to mean this team is going to flop?
I mean, it's possible. It's possible, right? Like I said, I wasn't around. But just looking at, their solo queue data and things like that, they all look like pretty decent players. So if they do have some chemistry, like you said, the org has been around for a while. Some of that chemistry can really shine through. I can see this team maybe being a middle of the pack team, maybe fringe playoff team. Like if this team got into the playoffs, I would think that that's a pretty good success for them.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, as much as I really do love AOL, I really love to see old duo teams come back, right? I know there's some talk of it in the Gen chat a few days ago, right? About how old duo teams just kind of build different. They come in strong and they mean business, right? With that said, it's been a while since we've seen AOL, right? And unfortunately for them, they're kind of in the exact same situation that Genesis were last season, where they applied for IBSG, but they had one plat player, this Sonic Abs, I believe, that they really wanted to play with, and now they're moving up to GPCS, right? And if you remember how Genesis Season 1 last season, it was not pretty. They started off at rock bottom, and kind of lucked their way into the playoffs. With a bunch of roster changes that landed somewhere in fifth somehow. So overall, I think AOL are going to struggle a bit early. And I hate to say it, I really want to see these guys succeed, but it's been a while. Our league has developed quite a bit, and the game in general is just super different, right? But all in all, I think, I want to say they'll do well, but I think they're going to be around the bottom, right? Players to keep your eye on, though. Kid Fire, former, face for IOL, and Thigh High Demise, as you said. I've seen him play mainly in mid lane, but I have caught glimpses of him on AD carry. He's solid, so, definitely watch out for his stuff. All right, let's get into our next team right now. Yeah?
Real quick. I don't know,
What's up?
Is my mic bad? I'm not sure if my mic's
Yeah,
bad.
it's going in and out.
Little
It's
choppy.
going in and out, little choppy. I'll speak like this. The rich bitch just wanted me to say, okay, let me say this. Do not direct the flame at me. This is not me saying this. I'm just the messenger, okay?
Okay.
He said in season 1, he remembers giving that guy Bland. I don't know who that guy is. If you guys, yeah. And he said he hinted his ass off. I don't know. So he just said that. He just wanted me to say that. So
All right.
that's what I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna
All
say
right. That's good to know.
Yeah. But let's get into our next GBSS team right here. We got 2 ones, back to back, brand new teams, brand new orgs, brand new faces that we haven't seen before. Let's hop right into. We got Eclipse, another one of the few, not too many. We actually have a lot of returning teams this season, but one of the few, brand new teams right off the press. We got Eclipse. Coming into the GPCS. We know one face from this team, but not for the greatest of reasons. Let me get into that roster super quickly. Once again, Eclipse, Uklar in the top lane, Immortal Mitch in the jungle, Cloud9 Booty Clapper in the mid lane, Arcadius in the bot lane, and Wolfie X in the support position. Former support for Organum Academy. I'm gonna, break the news right now, though. I have actually heard some, early news from Eclipse's captain, Booty Clapper, that they are having a couple roster issues and that they need to push some of their games a little bit back. Help these guys out. Get their matches scheduled later when they can play them. But let's head to you once again, Collateral. How do you feel about these guys? Brand new team. Very little that we know about them.
Brand new team. We don't know much. That's a huge question mark. And as you guys know, like last season, my team had a lot of roster problems, and my take on that is like it's extremely hard to succeed and go far if you do not know who's going to be playing and like stuff like that, like who's on the bench, who's going to start. Like I remember last season we probably had like 6 or 7 different starting lineups, and if it's the same story for these guys, it's going to be very tough for them to succeed. So I mean, just them coming in as a new team is a pretty big question mark. But now that you told me that they have roster problems, that's an even bigger question mark. So
yeah. How do you feel about that, Zach?
I'm a little bit, more optimistic than you guys are about newer teams. Like last season, we had a couple new teams, right? You guys may have heard of them, right? Team Ambition, right? That team, brand new team to duo, gets into the semifinals. Pretty good score. Oblivion Esports Gold, right? Brand new team, never had these guys in here before. They make it to the finals. These are teams that we've never seen. We didn't know any of the players, and they surpass our expectations, right? I'm not obviously going to set those expectations for Eclipse, right? Like that's very unrealistic. But I do think that we got to give some credit to these guys. They all look like pretty solid players. We'll see how they do. But I'm not going to write them off, just because they're a new team or they're having roster issues or anything like that. We haven't seen them play. Some of these players look good. Wolfie X, when she was on Organum Academy, looked like a pretty solid player. So, once again, I'm going to stick with the fringe playoffs. If they get in, that feels great.
Okay. I was kind of surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I thought all of us would be dogging on these new teams. I'm happy to hear a different. I do agree. I mean, we have had new teams come in before and just immediately show that they're a big deal. We would set the bar way too low for them, and they have absolutely what it takes to compete. With that said, I have to side with Collateral on this one. I mean, if it weren't for The roster issues early on, I would say, yeah, this team might do decent, mid-tier or something, but roster issues early on, Collateral knows from experience, and we've seen it many times before in Dewey's, but you get a rocky start to the season, and it is really tough, but you got to go
I am going to say one thing, though. I am going to say one thing. Immortal Mitch, I don't personally know him, but I have heard of him.
Okay.
And
Good
he
things
plays
or
a
bad
he,
things?
yeah, I've heard great things. I mean, this guy is a solid carry player, right? He loves the things like Kane, Graves. Graves is one of my favorite champions. A lot of people in Duo know me for my Graves when I used to play here. And I love watching that champion. So I'm pretty excited to see him play in Eclipse as well.
Ooh, okay. I didn't think we knew anyone other than Wolfie on this roster, but all right, Immortal Mitch, someone to keep our eyes on in the season. I do look forward to it. And let's go to our next Gold Platinum Competitive Series team. Keeping in the E's once again, we have another brand new team. This time it's Exodia Forbidden. And once again, another new team, but they're coming in hot with the Yu-Gi-Oh! And all. Big fan of that. We'll see if they can match, if this team's going to be able to assemble the 5 pieces and just win this season, or if they're just going to turn out lucky. Let's get into the roster, shall we? I am the Lewis in the top lane. Aximwai in the jungle, probably said that wrong. Alpals in the mid lane, Accelerado in the bot lane, and Koyash on support. Let's head over to you this time, Zach.
Okay, so this team also has some familiar players that I'm aware of, but I'm gonna start this off by just saying we need to get an updated logo, guys. I mean, come on. Like when I look at this, I see my I got some third graders that I know. Maybe they drew this for you. I'm not sure. But let's get something done. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think this team is pretty good. They're pretty solid. Accelerado, I know him. He's a pretty solid player. I know Alpals, he's got a nasty echo. I've seen his echo, but I know that if it gets banned, they're gonna have some problems, right? The other players, I'm not too sure about. But these new teams, I can't help but be excited to see new faces coming in here. So once again, until they prove to me where they belong, I'm just gonna give them, middle of the pack. None of these teams are gonna be down in the dumpsters, and they're not gonna be at the top.
Oh, okay. Well, Collado, do you share the same consensus for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know who I Am the Luis is. I'm pretty sure we played against him a couple times, and he's actually a pretty good top. I'm not sure about the other guys. I'm not sure if Luis is like their stars, but I mean, he's pretty good. I do agree. The logo is. But I mean, if they could, play off of Luis, I'm sure they'll have players who can match up with him. I just don't know these guys, so I would say they have a question mark on them, but not as big. I could definitely see them being like a mid-tier team, even a top-tier team.
I don't know about top tier, but I'm definitely going to side with you on mid tier. I think a lot of new teams, it's very safe to just put them in mid tier. I'm actually surprised, though. 2 out of, I think, the 3 new teams that we have so far this season, and Legit Sack's already got the number. That's a little surprising. I mean, you said 1 or 2 guys on this roster, and I agree with Collateral. I've seen the name I Am the Lewis somewhere. I don't know where, but it does seem really familiar. So we got some of these guys' numbers, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I absolutely agree. Get a new logo. I'll make one for you maybe if I have the time. But get a new logo. We're using the card art.
I'll get into paint. I'm not an artist, but I'll try to help you out.
I'm gonna up the stakes. I'm gonna say that these guys are gonna end first.
Okay,
first place.
Okay, man, you got a team in here too, man. All right, don't grief.
You're just trolling now, I think.
Hey,
Luis, I know that name, bro. I know that name.
It's gonna bother me all night too, man. All right, let's not let it bother us too much. Let's get into our next face right now, or rather, a team that doesn't quite have a face. Another brand new Gold Platinum Competitive Series team, hot off the press. It's faceless. In fact, coming into the GPCS, let's take a look at that roster. First, we got the Mandalore in the top lane, Ex Blamonte in the jungle, Natia Nox in the mid lane, I Chosen in the bot lane, and Elite Dragon on support. Legit Zach, there's no way you know one of these guys' numbers, right? There's no way.
I don't know any of these people. I'm going to be honest, I don't know any of these people. So I took a quick look at their rosters, OPGG. The one thing, with Duo Esports is especially in GP. You know, when you play the mid lane, it's such a prominent role in the game. You know, you can control the entire map. Their mid laner is unfortunately a gold 4 player. You know, I'm not sure. You know, maybe it doesn't belong there. But I think that that's, you know, a weakness in their team, and if it gets exploited, you know, I think this team is going to struggle. But you know, once again, obviously, I've never seen these guys play, so you know, maybe they prove me wrong. But I have lower expectations maybe for this team than the previous ones.
Yeah, that's fair. Collateral again, another new team, so
Okay, before he said anything about the gold for mid, I was gonna say that these guys look good because they have a good, like, I like the logo. They got some sick ass names: Blamonte, Mandalore, the Chosen. You know, I thought these guys could be fighting for first, second place, but he said go for mid. I don't know about that. I'm gonna go mid. That, you know, surprised me a mid-tier team, but I'll just be safe and say bottom tier team.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean mid-tier teams. The consensus or new teams you put in mid-tier, right? The consensus is kind of the same. I'm also
Yeah.
receiving word that I've misspelled their jungler's name. It's Belmonte. My apologies. But all in all, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. Again, mid-tier. It's very boring. It's very bland. I know, but you don't want to trash on the mod spot in the new team. We don't know who they are. They're going to do poorly, or don't want to be collateral here with the last team. They're at the top, right? I mean, you know,
Okay.
mid-tier is just always pretty safe.
Yeah, you know, listen, I'm just being safe this season. Last season, I put myself out there too much, and you know, I got some slack for it. So I'm gonna take the safe approach, and you know, we'll just wait to see these guys play games, and we'll judge them after that.
For sure. Now let's finally get to some teams that we know the faces of, because believe it or not, our broadcast might have made you think otherwise, but we actually have 5 returning teams. Half of GPCS from last season is coming back into this one. The top 5 as well, in fact. So, again, let's get into our first returning team, I believe, for Gold Platinum Competitive Series. We got Genesis, hot off the press, new roster, but we've seen some of these players before. That's for damn sure. Let's take a look at it. J Boogie NA in the top one, O Knives O in the jungle, Sir Savage 21 in the mid lane, Skyland Seer, former Gold Platinum Competitive Series champion on last season, Pawn Sacrifice Purple, and 7-11, the captain himself on the support position. These guys played in the exhibition matches as well and had a very good showing, but it was against an IBSG team. This time, I know you know a lot more about these guys, Skylancer especially so. How do you feel, Zach?
Well, I like this team, right? The thing is, it's going to be a little awkward, I feel, for Skylancer himself, because I feel like in this team, you know, he needs to be the main carry. When we saw J Boogie last season, you know, he was usually playing bruisers, he was playing weak side, and they were playing for the bot lane, and that's how they kind of won some games, and you know, they scraped into the playoffs. I think this team is definitely an upgrade, but I want to see how Skylancer can adjust to being like the primary carry on his team, because on Pawn Sacrifice Purple, he wasn't that. You know, there were games where, you know, he would be the primary carry, but it didn't happen every game. And I'm interested to see how 7-11 does at, you know, on the support position. As someone that just moved to the support position myself, it's, you know, there are some complicated things to learn. But I'm pretty optimistic for this team. You know, I think we are going to see them in the playoffs. I think they'll be top 4.
Ooh, okay. Pretty high hopes for Genesis. How do you feel about them, the Collateral?
These guys, I'm about top 4. I would say I think they took a game off of us last season. They were pretty good. I think they only changed their jungler, right? I think that's the only name that doesn't look familiar to me, but I might
No,
just
they
be...
added the AD carry and mid.
AD
carry, jungle, yeah, are all changed.
Oh, okay.
7-11 is playing a new role as well.
Got you.
So,
I would say for this team, I would put them. I don't think that they'll be like top 3, but I could definitely see them at like 4 or 5. I don't think they're a bottom tier team. I think they're capable of going top 3, but just to be safe, I'm gonna put them around 4 or 5.
I mean, I agree. This Genesis roster is definitely an upgrade. Again, they're playing against the IBSG team. Kind of waters down the victory a little bit, but they had, like I said on case, they had some real gamer moments. You know, full team aces, 18 minutes in. You know, some really cool combos and whatnot, right? And I mean, this Genesis squad is really interesting. I agree with you, though, Zach, that when you look at this roster, I mean, Jay Bourguignon, solid top laner, 7-11. I think he had a few games of support last season. I'm not quite sure, but I mean, we'll see how that turns out for him. O and Sir Savage, don't really know him, but Skylancer's the big name on this roster, right? And on Pawn Sacrifice Black, he by no means like the weak link, but by no means the superstar either, right? He had very good teammates that were able to help him also be able to set himself up for success, right? And then this time on Genesis, he is the one in the spotlight. He's the one in the limelight. And we're going to see if he can be a big carry and say, it wasn't just Pawn Sacrifice. I'm, just as exceptional as everyone else, right? So,
yeah. One more point I want to make is, Skylancer, like you said, and I said earlier, he's going to have to be the main carry, but I also believe that he's going to be the voice of the team and the leader, because in the game, he's actually a big voice. Playing with him myself, I know, he gets ahead of himself and tries to do all the shot calling, especially from the AD carry position. It is hard to do because, you can't control your teammates' engages and things like that. So let's hope, he keeps his mind right. And I think he can do some serious damage if he can.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, overall, I would put this Genesis roster. This is a better team, but we also have. They're not the only team that's upgrading their roster. I think some teams are more so than them, upgrading their roster way more. We're going to get to them soon. If I had to say, maybe fifth. I'm not sure. I don't think this is a top 3 team. They could very easily be 4th or 5th, though. And they're absolutely not a bottom team. I think Genesis will start the season a lot stronger than they did last, right? So it's going to be really interesting. I know, Collateral, you had some banger games against these guys. So even when they were at the bottom, they were definitely, throwing hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're going to be a competitive team. I don't think they're going to be a bottom tier team. If they can be a top 3 team, but I just again, to be safe, I'm gonna put them around 4 to 5. But they're definitely going to be a competitive team. There's no doubt about that.
110% agree with you. Let's get to our next team. This time we got a exclusive Gold Platinum Competitive Series finalists. Not quite the winners, but the runners-up of last season. It's Oblivion Esports. It's now coming in once again into the Gold Platinum Competitive Series. These guys were dirty basically all season long. In Season 8, they had one bad week, and that was it. They had a really close match against Pawn Sacrifice Purple, the champions of last season. I think, the second time they met up in the regular season, crushed them in the first, but got crushed in the finals, unfortunately. Asked for the smoke and most definitely got it. The 2 to max 9 in the mid lane. Now coming back with a very different roster into this season of the Gold Platinum Competitive Series. Let's take a look at it. We got Radiant Pup in the top lane, Kyropak in the jungle, Isolde, former top laner, now in the mid lane, I'm DeBaby in the bot lane, and EXE Trick on support. I know that this was the team you played and lost to in the semifinals, Collateral. So how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel about this new roster of theirs?
I mean, who did they change?
Almost everyone.
I think they
almost everybody.
Almost everyone. I mean,
oh wow.
Yeah. That was. I mean, you got no JS Kodak, no Peloria, no El Topo,
Listen,
which
Collateral. If you want to take a second and think about it, I already have my opinion hot off the presses.
This is what I'll say. I don't like Isolde because he beat us. I don't like this. They have the same coach, huh? I'm sure they got the same coach. I don't like this organization. Okay. I don't think we beat them a single time last year. And we sometimes we were so close. I do not like this org. For their new players, I feel bad. I mean, I don't even know y'all, but I already have a grudge against you guys. So I'm gonna say I could see them being a top 3 team like last year, whatever. But I want to put them like 4th or 5th. I don't like this team.
Mm-hmm.
All
right. How do you feel, Legitsack?
I think this team is going to be terrible.
Ooh, okay.
I think this team is going to be terrible. I think if you watch their games from last season, a lot of the games they won were like off early snowballs. There were some cheese picks being thrown out there. This roster is completely different. Not a single returning player except one that's in a different role. So it's pretty much a brand new roster. A lot of these players don't look like they even play well. And I mean, like, it sounds bad, I'm gonna be honest. It sounds bad, but I think this is a bottom 4 team.
Ooh, bottom
I
4.
hope so, man. I hope so.
All right, we got one guy with a grudge. We got one guy that's.
I'm salty. Yeah, I am. No, I am.
That's fair.
I'm not
That's
salty. I got nothing against them, but I just don't think this team
We
will be
didn't beat
very
them a
good.
single damn time last year. Anyways.
I mean, I think from our inspection so far, they're going to be beating them a few times in this season. And I agree with everyone else here. Oblivion, I think, are one of the few teams to actually downgrade their roster from last season. They had an incredibly solid, starting 5-man. Everyone had their roles on the team. Excuse Big Face is arguably the best jungler last season. He definitely had some competition, so it wasn't an easy ride for him by any means. And there were just so many faces that they all played their part. It all fit so well into the Oblivion lineup, but now there's just basically none of that now.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't think Oblivion's going to do as well. Bottom 4. I mean, I almost would go. I would almost go and say even worse, like bottom 3, right? I mean,
okay, that's fine. I'll take that as well. Sure.
I'll take that any day of the week, man. Any day of the week.
Any day of the week. Well, got to keep your eye on those. What is it? Team Aether now in Oblivion Esports match is going to be some fire stuff. But the next team on our list is definitely a team that I don't think anybody hates. It's our single most decorated team in Duo Esports history. It's none other than Sacrifice Black. It cheers main. He's bringing out not the purple, not the blue, not the red, the black. Cheers main pawn sacrifice team, and these guys are just successful in every single way you can imagine. They have won our league in every season they have competed. Now looking to make that 5 seasons. I think I've lost count. Let's look at that roster for these guys. I mean, they're just dirty. For Pawn Sacrifice Black, Sheer, fucking Will in the top lane, something corny in the jungle, Glancy in the mid lane, Shrimp Tempura in the bottom lane, and Omni Shield on support. We gotta go to you, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, this team is I don't really need to say much. I mean, that's the thing, right? When I don't have to say much is when everyone just knows.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my only concern would be that they don't practice at all. This team doesn't scrim. Shrimp is, a busy guy. He's notorious for not showing up for practice or not having time for practice. And Glance is in med school. So they don't really have much time, but they'll probably still show up and smack some kids around. I think they will have, more competition this year, right? We looked at Genesis. Yeah, it was Genesis. That roster looked pretty solid. Oblivion, didn't look too good. So I think Genesis is probably going to be their main competition, along with TA, who we'll look at in a little bit. But this team is obvious. That's what you can say.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to just give them a lock for the title, but finals appearance, top 2. I think you can book that.
Yeah, for sure, I agree with you. How do you feel about them, Collateral? How do you feel about these guys?
I don't like them. Okay.
Why don't you like him, bro?
He's capping. He's capping.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie to myself. These guys are probably gonna be in the throughout the whole season in the conversation for top 3, fighting between 1, 2, 3. Will most definitely make playoffs. Most definitely. I think if they don't make the finals, it'll be an upset. So I think just by saying that shows because actually yesterday I looked at the Hall of Fame thing, and I saw PS in every single. I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
Did you see
I didn't even know that.
in there?
Yeah, I didn't even. So if they don't make the finals, it'll be an upset. So I don't like saying it, but
Collateral. While you were looking at the Hall of Fame, did you catch the MG waves? There was a big tidal wave.
I did see that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Or
Was
just
that-
making sure you saw it. That's all.
Was that you?
No,
Was that you?
That wasn't
No.
me, bro. I didn't play in season 7. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
okay.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, I'm just gonna say what everyone, for whatever reason, doesn't want to say here. I mean, this is an easy number 1, baby. What are you talking about? I'm even gonna shoot down some of Zach's points. I mean, yeah, Glancy is in med school, right? But they also have a substitute mid laner named Manatsu, who is a very good player. I didn't put him on the graphic just because she wanted me to put a glance for him, but Manatsu is going to be probably playing quite a few few games, maybe just as many as Glance in this season. He is an extremely solid player. I think he's literally built different from some of the other duo mids we have. I think that he plays his game very differently from how our normal mid laners do. I'll geek about him later in the season. I mean, Shrimp, yeah, he doesn't show up to practice much, but one of Pawn Sacrifice's team ever really needed practice? Never. So, I mean, overall, somehow your number one team from last season is getting an upgrade. They have Shrimp in the bot lane. They have Glance actually starting in the mid lane position this time, and they have an equally as skilled mid laner to back them up as a sub. You have an improved Corny and Omari, so there's no build up. There's no, them progressing and improving throughout the season. They're just going to be really good at the start of it. I think it's an easy crush for Pawn Sacrifice.
So I think the difference between last season and this one is last season, if you just looked at the teams, man, it was free. It was so free.
Hey.
It was the freest season of all, I think,
Really?
But this season, I don't think it's going to be the same. It's not going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so, man. I'm playing.
They may still win. I mean, they're obviously the favorites, right? They're obviously the favorites. But there are teams that can compete, I think. And that's what will make it interesting.
Fair. I definitely agree with you. I mean, at least prior to the season starting, maybe not prior to game one, because game one was very rough, but they got their stuff, together very quickly. Everyone was saying it was Pawn Sacrifice, right? That's how most seasons are. But I agree, there's some competition in some places. We're gonna get to one, some of the big competitors really soon here. But I'm a big fan of these guys. Love to see them play. They're also, they've already set so many records in our league. They're setting another one in just existing in this season. They're now the first team ever in Duo Esports history to compete for 5 seasons in a row under the Pawn Sacrifice org, right? So, big fan, of them coming back. Love to have them, and I think they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure. Let's get into our next team, though. I know one of our panelists knows this team pretty well. It's going to be Team Aether, or as everyone knew him last season and still kinds of know him as now, Have Faith. Your semifinalist, rock bottom at the start, but really got their stuff together, midway through that season, laying down the 7-0 bet and almost goddamn matching it. Let me fucking tell you. 6-1 finished second start of their season.
Wait a minute!
These guys came out swinging, and I love to see them back. Have faith. I'll call you Team Aether when you get the logo. And let's look at these guys. Koniki in the top lane, White Armor Fanboy in the jungle, Strive, aka the Rich Pritch in the mid lane, Tebius Collateral in the bot lane, and I am Scruff on support. And we gotta start with you, Collat.
I don't know why you had to mention the 6-1. Who beat
that's
us?
still really good, man. That's really good.
Beat us. That's why the grudge. But hold on. Oh, I like that meme. Let me just say this. Last year I came out talking my shit, whatever. This year, I'm just gonna take it slow. I'm gonna try to just play my game. Yeah, I think that we could compete for top 3. I think we can. I don't think it'll be like that much of an issue. Especially, thank God, we don't have any roster and I don't have to deal with them anymore. It's gonna be the Rich Bridge. He's the captain now. I'm just gonna be focusing on playing. So you know what? Should I talk my smack?
I
don't
think
know,
you
bro.
should lay it down.
All right, I'm gonna say top 2 and not 2.
Okay.
Ooh,
So you win the league.
Okay.
In the regular season, we'll see what goes down later.
Okay.
But sure, why not?
I got a question for you. Is your roster still the same as last?
Yes, except we got all these guys played last year. All these guys did. But in the final matchup, Scruff was the top, and we had a different support.
Okay, so they're on their main roles now.
Pretty much everyone's on the main role right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, my opinion is this is a top 4 team. At the minimum.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think that you'll win. Probably, I don't think so. but you can contend for it, right? Which is, I think, the best you can ask for. Because you can't come in here and expect to just win.
You're right.
You know there's some strong teams here. So
I do.
the fact that you can compete for top 4 and make a push for the finals and win it is something that I would be pretty happy with. And I think this team can do it. It's pretty, straight to the point. This is a top 4 team.
I think we're playing PSB tomorrow, I think. I'm not sure. I think we are.
There's a very good chance. Week 1 games looked like they were rigged, let me tell you. They weren't, but they really looked like they were rigged. We got some wild bangers in week 1, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, again, super happy to see you guys back this season. I agree. I think you're going to be a top 3 team. I wouldn't say top 4. I think have a really good third. I'm a big fan, of course. And like I said on the IBSG part of the cast here, I think coming back with returning players is a huge plus for your team, and you have no new players, which is a really good thing, right? That means everyone's coming back, everyone's feeling
finally, bro.
Yeah. So super happy to have you guys back, and yeah, I do think top 3. We already said Pawn Sacrifice is number 1. Have Faith going to be number 3. Who is going to be our number 2 team? We're going to get to that extremely soon.
Dang, okay. All right.
Yeah. We'll see if you got up on the list, but yeah, excited to have you guys back. Let's look at our last team, maybe the best for last. We'll have to find out. Our final Gold Platinum Competitive Series team for this season is Team Ambition Seoul. These guys absolutely came out swinging in the very end of the season. After playing slots with rosters, they found one that was just golden, hit all the right notes and whatnot, and they came in, they obliterated Pawn Sacrifice in their final regular season match in that last week, and they put up one hell of a fight in the semifinals. These guys were disgusting, and they were so close to pulling it off. But all in all, they're coming back with 4 out of 5 returning players. Technically 5 out of 5 if you look at subs. Now let's take a look at that roster there is for Team Ambition. So we got Nubly in the top lane, Nick, Superstar, previously known as Spoozy X in the jungle, Yes in the mid lane, and Villain and Glasses and Daddy Zillion in the bot lane. The classic duo esports bot lane. Let's start off with you, Zach.
Yeah. I think this team is pretty obvious. When you look at it, you just think, okay, this team is going to be in the finals, right? When watching the games last season, it reminded me of when I played in Duo, where if the bracket was just a little bit different, we would have had a final series that would have been really fun to watch, right? We ended up seeing Team Ambition versus Pawn Sacrifice Purple in the semifinals, which was still a great series, but it was a best of 3 instead of best of 5. And the finals ended up, kind of being a little bit boring because of it. So I think this team, as long as they don't run into, some drastic problems, is expected to be in the finals.
For sure agree with you. Collateral, how do you feel about these guys?
These guys were pretty good last year. I remember that late push. I think they were beat by PSP, right? At the end.
Yes.
They had the tiebreaker game against Genesis, and then they won that with their new mid, right? But are these guys, I think Villain, I remember him. Who else is returning?
It's the same team except new mid, just new mid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think these guys definitely gonna be like a top tier team. I don't see them being bottom at all. Most likely gonna be in playoffs. I think that they could definitely push for the finals. Putting them in 2, I feel about that, but we'll just say that they'll be a top tier team. I'll just say that.
I for sure agree with you. Let's start the hashtag. Let's get it running in the Discord, boys. Hashtag TA Fighting. Like I said, IBSG, pretty realistic second place. GP, almost for sure second place. And if you're TA, like I said as well, they've never won a league before. They have a super strong drive. They got a lot of passion behind them. And it shows in their new logo in its own way, right? They want to win a league, and I really understand that desire to just to constantly be playing leagues, constantly trying to win them. I really get that, and I think Villain and Daddy's gonna have the perfect team for that, because that's the pair that has been playing in our league for longer than anyone else, right? I think I've lost count. I mean, this is longer than Pawn Sacrifice has been an org, which is a while. I think this is the 6th season that Villain is coming in to try and win in duo esports. And, regardless of how good Pawn Sacrifice look, I want to see him win the league. Right? I want to see this duo coming on top. And now hearing the story behind Tia and how they really have the same identity as him, I want to see this team win so badly, bro.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility, right? If you look around, you probably think, this is a top 2, top 3 bottom lane. And they're going to be expected to, carry a lot of the games for this squad. So, they did it last season. I think they can do it again. But I think with the addition of Genesis's new bot lane, I'm pretty excited. I can give you a top 4 real quick in order if you want it.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. I think it's Pawn Sacrifice Black, TA Soul, Genesis, and then Half Faith.
Okay,
That's
okay.
That's
How do you feel about that, Collateral?
I don't like. Okay, do you want my fake one or you want my real one?
Hit me with the real one.
Okay, the real one. 1 probably PSB. I'll go with that. 2. I'll just be safe. I'll say TA Soul. 3 us. 4 will be Genesis. I still do think our team. Man. No, I still do think our team is stronger than theirs on paper, at least on paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this team is going to be something you're going to be talking about. It's something you're going to see. I believe they play their grudge match against Genesis as the 2nd game in the season, if I'm remembering correctly. So tune into that this Saturday, if I remember, 8 o'clock, something of that sort. So all in all, going to be a really fun match to start off the season with these guys. And like I said, they're coming in with a lot of drive, coming in with 4 to 5 of the returning players. Got the other one on the subs list. And I think these guys are going to tear it up. But we'll see if they can make that push for first, right? A lot of teams, they got to work their way up, right? Have faith. Can they match up to second? These guys, can they match up to first? And first, I just have to do what they've always been doing, all right? So all in all, that is 9 out of 9 of our Gold Platinum Competitive Series teams. We have one more, a 10th GPCS slot still open. So if you're anyone else knows a GPCS team that wants to get on the action, tell them to hit me up or check out our team applications in the Duo Esports Discord. And all in all, we have a fire season of GPCS ahead of us. And before we close things out, I know we just got top 4 to you two guys, but I really want to talk to you about the dynamic that's here this season that wasn't last, right? Because you have 5 returning teams and 5 new teams, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out. I know you've said your top 4s already, but who do you think is going to clutch out that 5th spot? Do you think it's going to be a new team or someone that we've seen before?
I think, personally, it's going to be a new team. I think Eclipse and Exodia Forbidden, when I'm just looking at their players, their players look like, they can compete at this level. So if I expect anyone to take those last 2 spots, it's probably them. Like I mentioned earlier, Oblivion Esports, I don't think you can do anything this season. Good night. See you later. Next season, try again. Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel, Collateral? Who's your 5th seed going to be?
For 5th seed, I definitely think it's going to be a new team. Realistically speaking, there's no way that the top 5 are all going to be top 5 returning teams, right? What are the chances of that? There's no way. I actually really like the I think it was Exodia Forbidden team. I think that they could make a crack at 5 or 4, anything like that. I do think there's no way the only teams that are gonna make in the playoffs and stuff are gonna be the returning teams. So there's no way.
Yeah, it's really hard to pinpoint, who's that last seed gonna be. I kind of want to say it's going to be a new team, right? Whether that ends up being technically a new team, right, to this season at least, that they weren't here before in season 8, or that's a brand new team, I'm not sure. I'm actually not going to say who the 5th seed's going to be, just because it's really up there. But I really was excited to hear your guys' input. There's a chance. I know it was a big hate train for them, but there's a chance that Oblivion don't just completely, whitewash the season. There's a very good chance, but there's a chance that some of these players were just underestimating, right? For all we know, right? But
yeah, I said I was gonna, be safe, but
I'm still sticking with my guns in that one. All right, I still don't think they're gonna do that well, but we'll have to see. Right? They are coming from an Oregon that does say a bit, but all in all, that's our Gold Platinum competitive series and our Iron Bronze Silver Gold competitive series wrapped up. That is the team showcase for season 9 wrapped up. Again, looking for at least one spot in both leagues. If you know a team, send them over here. We'd love to have them. All you need: base eligibility, roster, super easy stuff, and you'll be able to play in this season. It's been a great night, everyone. I'm super happy, for IBSG desk, Imagines and True. Great to have them. And you guys as well, Collateral and Sack. Super happy to have you guys here.
Yeah, it's been fun. Excited to get this
Appreciate
season
being here.
kicked off.
Yes, sir. Starting tomorrow. Back on that grind.
Starting tomorrow, back on that grind for sure. We're going to close shop here, though, at Dewey Sports for tonight. Have a great night, everyone. The season starts tomorrow, and we'll see you then.